Those are 6 times 0 is 6. You should be out. But if you have to leave, that's fine. We'll have, yeah, consulting budgets. Look and see. Sam's got some numbers. Ready? I know. It is 4:30 on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025, and I call this meeting of the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission to order. Roll call. Blaine Johnston is here. Patrick Giddings. Here. Pam Jagosh.
Here.
Ken Freeze.
Here.
Jack Keller.
Here.
Deborah Pitts.
Here.
Heather Giacomo.
Here.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Giddings, seconded by Commissioner Keller for adoption of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Approval of minutes of our December 4th, 2024 special meeting of HPC.
Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of the 12/4/24 special meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Giddings, seconded by Commissioner Freeze for approval of our minutes of December 4 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Approval of our monthly financial statements. Ms. Schiffler, anything new we need to worry about?
We had the historic walking tour app renewed, so that was the $1,200, which was budgeted for. And also $250 for the renewal of the National Trust for Historic Preservation membership.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve our monthly financial statement.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Keller, seconded by Commissioner Giddings for approval of our monthly financial statements. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? New business. Next order of business is election of officers of the commission. Meridian City Code directs us to hold elections at the first meeting of each calendar year. Our bylaws state that officers of the commission shall include the commission chair, commission vice chair. Our bylaws also state that our current vice chair is automatically nominated for chair It is my understanding that the vice chair wishes to decline the nomination and instead run for reelection for another term as vice chair. Is that correct?
Yes.
I am willing to serve another term as your chair, so I nominate myself. Are there any other nominations for the chair of office as chair? Seeing none, nominations for this office are now closed. As mentioned, vice chair has volunteered to continue to serve in the office of vice chair. Are there any other nominations for the office of vice chair? Seeing none, the nominations for this office are now closed. I propose that we vote on the elections of these officers as officers this year. Is there a motion to elect Blaine Johnson as chair, Patrick Giddings as vice chair?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to nominate and elect Blaine Johnson as our chair
And
and Patrick Giddings as our vice chair.
Second.
motion by Commissioner Freeze, seconded by Commissioner Keller for the election of Blaine Johnson as chair, commission chair, and Patrick Giddings as commission vice chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Congratulations, Patrick. Old business, Historic Preservation Commission 2025 consulting budget. Ms. Schiffler, can you just give us a quick update? What do we have this year to spend for consultants? And you have got a couple of proposals or quotes from Brandon and Barbara.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, so the consulting budget for the Historic Preservation Commission is $10,000. As you guys know, the $5,500 of that is committed to matching funds for the grant, so that leaves $4,500 remaining. We had a subcommittee meeting and sort of reviewed some things. There's still the project proposal from Whole Films for $2,000 to do additions to the virtual tour sites. And I checked with him, that quote is still good. I also kind of checked with him and our IT department about the city hosting it on our website rather than on his website because Commissioner Giddings was, well, and rightfully so, just what should happen if he had to vacate the site for some reason. So he, for some of his clients, he hosts it for a lot of his clients and not for others. When our IT department looked at it, they were kind of like, whoa, this is very specialized. We can't do that. But he said that he can send like the coding and everything as a package and thought that it was something that IT could figure out and he would do a Zoom call and figure that out. So if we decide to add another site at the end of that package, he could send the whole website as a code to be on the city site. However, it would probably be pretty difficult for the city to make any changes or updates. So there is kind of an advantage to him hosting because he can pretty easily go in and make some changes and updates, but we could still have the backup file to host if something ever happened.
With that, and this is going to probably come into a later discussion on Eggers Farmstead. And I don't know if I should bring it up now or later, but I'm just going to do it now. We spent a lot of time discussing the silos, trying to preserve them, but we've never really had a structural engineer go out and take a look to see what their thoughts are. When this started a year and a half ago, I talked to an engineer after David Bailey said, their engineer said it wasn't structurally sound. The engineer I talked to said yes, but he would have to go out and take a look at the site. I've reached out to him to get another quote to be sent to Cassandra. His preliminary estimate was for $1,400 just to go out, take a look at the building, take some notes to see if they thought it was structurally sound. So we've got a couple of things that we can maybe try and do this year. Mr. Neri, I have a question for you, and probably back to Cassandra also. We have line item for consultants for $4,500. Can we use money from another line item, training, whatever, if we feel we want to do all of these things, and we're going to pay like $6,000 total?
So, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, yeah, your budget items are individualized merely for historical purposes, that you really have the freedom to move that to another use if you wish. The only issue I have on your recent comment though is because it's going to be disassembled and stored. I don't know, again, you would probably know better than I don't know, does that make sense to then do an analysis before you disassemble it?
It would be nice to have it done beforehand. Like I said, this is going to go back into a later
Okay.
discussion. Do you know what the time frame is on them?
I don't. I know we just had the agreement signed off on this week by the city council, so it takes a little bit for that process. I don't know, but I know in driving by the site, that is the only thing out there on the
Yeah.
ground. So I'm assuming they're gonna move it fairly soon,
Okay.
but it's totally on the CBH to move it because they had agreed to do that. So I don't know what their timing is. Mr. Bailey, probably Dave Bailey would probably know better than we would.
Okay.
Chairman, I have a question. Are you talking about having somebody go out there to look at the cost of deconstructing it or moving it?
Just to see if the structure is physically sound.
Okay.
Structurally sound, that it could be rebuilt at a later date. And that's the one thing that's never taken place in the discussions we've had. And we can get into that discussion later. We had a budget meeting, Patrick and Cassandra and I, last week to talk about this. And at that point, we agreed that we would like to spend the money to have Brandon do some more film for us. And Barbara from TAG said to do some work on an individual preliminary work would be $2,500 to $3,500 for her work. And I just wrote down $3,000. Do we want to proceed with this for consulting budgets? What's the commission's thoughts on how we want to spend the money?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, could I give a little bit more information on the quote from TAG?
Yes.
So the quote, so TAG, so when we do the National Historic Registry nominations, those are kind of a long process, and there's probably not nearly enough in the budget to do a whole process, plus you probably want to start it, but she did give me a quote for doing some of the preliminary eligibility questionnaire sort of things on a few sites that we had talked about in the meeting. So the sites were either the Masonic Hall or the Coal Valley, the Meridian High School, or on Zamzo's Mill. So those are ones that kind of have been brought up in the past. And she said for any of those, probably 30 to 40 hours of work. And with the, and their rate is a $90 an hour loaded. So that's $2,700 to $3,500 is kind of how much any of those would be to do the preliminary work on a National Historic Registry nomination.
Commissioner Jagosh, I've got a question for you. Do you know what the time frame is for Coal Valley to move out of that building now? And do you know if there are any interested parties in buying that building? I can't hear her.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I won't unmute me on my end unless I go to a different button. So as far as moving out, it's going to happen it's going to happen with our athletic facilities first, from my understanding. And then I believe the secondary campus will come second, and then our elementary. So it's in stages. 2025 has always been the year, but we've heard that it might not happen. At least the school facility might not happen in 2025. I can get a more definitive answer. It's just kind of moved around because of building costs. As far as a buyer, I know that we've had another school that was interested in it, but I'm not sure where they stand on that. But again, I can get all this information.
Yeah, if you can, that would be great. If you get that and just send that to Cassandra, then we can go do that. So I guess from the commission standpoint, which facility do we want to look at for the next nomination? Do we want Meridian High School, the old Meridian High School? Do we want to concentrate on the mill? Masonic Hall is eligible also, but so we have options that we can take a look at. So what's the commission's opinion? Where do we want to go from here?
I have a question. Could, like Zamzo's, the Mill or the Masonic Lodge, have they expressed any willingness to contribute to the cost of this? Or is that not kosher? I mean, do you not do that?
I don't know. I think the cost comes back on us. We're the ones that want to nominate it. So I think the cost comes back or falls on the commission to pay for. If they want to give us a grant or money, I don't know how that would work. I don't know that's ever been brought up before. So, Mr. Neri, do you know if that is feasible, possible? For a private entity to give us funds for a nomination process?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, certainly if they wanted to provide some additional funding, I think certainly we would find a way through a grant process to do that, or if, again, the grant's probably not the right term, but certainly we could do that. But yeah, we haven't historically asked any of the property owners to contribute to that process. They do get some benefits on the other side, but I guess from a cautionary standpoint, I guess I would be cautious that you don't want to necessarily appear that you're sort of selling that either.
Right.
But certainly if they want to contribute or participate, we certainly could find a way to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Giddings.
one thought I have is that about the old high school is that if it is indeed going to change hands, then we might want to wait, find out who the new owners are going to be and how they would feel about that. We've been talking about the mill for quite a long while.
Mhm.
And it's a very, very important property in Meridian. I mean, it's been here all of my life, driven by it a zillion times. So I think my 2 cents worth is if we're going to proceed with something, the mill might be a good choice. And I'm just one voice on this commission, but I think the mill would be a good choice. Ever since my very first meeting that I've come here, I've heard that the mill is a good candidate to be on the historic register. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Commissioner Giacomo.
Mr. Chair, yeah, Mr. Vice Chair, I agree with everything that's been said. I was thinking those exact same things about the high school. You know, if the idea is that it's going to be changing hands, that we don't want to start a process that someone might not be interested in. And while the Masonic Hall is a worthy location as well, I agree, Zamzo's the way to go.
There was also another property that I think we had talked about, and that was the building on Main Street on North Main where Avest currently is.
Mhm.
I think they're property developers and property managers. And I can't remember if that house is eligible or not, but if it is eligible, that would be a good choice.
My feeling about the school is if designation would somehow prevent it from being torn down, which it wouldn't, I'd be all for going that route because if somehow we could save it, but we could go through all the effort of getting it designated just to have a new owner come in and decide to bulldoze it.
Oh, and that's a problem with anything that we do. It doesn't preclude an owner from tearing it down after, even if it's been listed on the registry, someone come back in and tear it down. I guess what we can do is we can ask TAG to start the preliminary on the mill. Do we want to have Whole Films start on one section of photography on North Main, going north from where he's left off now? And then look at doing the evaluation on silos. Hopefully, if it comes about, And I had this discussion with Ms. Schiffler earlier. Can HBC and the Parks Department go halves on an evaluation for that, since it's going to go into, if we don't get it, or if it's not rebuilt, the Parks Department's going to get it eventually, maybe, I don't know. But it'd be good for them to know also if it's structurally sound to be rebuilt. So, Mr. Neri, is that a possibility to split evaluation costs between HBC and the Parks Department?
Mr. Chair, yeah, certainly if the Parks Department wanted to do that as well, I guess I'm a little curious. I don't know. I guess I'm not clear what you meant by they would get it.
Well, if it's torn down and if this memo is true, it's going to go to Parks Department location, and if no one comes along and expresses interest, is the city's going to rebuild it?
Yes, okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking you're still talking about Zamzows.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, it's my confusion. Yeah, right now, again, Parks Department is simply going to store it.
Right.
And then eventually, yeah, there is a potential parcel that CBH Homes is providing to the city to then rebuild the structure there on that site at a future date. Now, it is the city's expense to rebuild it. But certainly that, having a conversation with the Parks Department, I don't know that they have the funding available now, but that's certainly something you certainly can have that conversation.
I guess let's do this with commission's approval. Let's go ahead and have TAG start preliminary survey of the mill and have Whole Films do one site going north. That would be $1,000. Is that correct, Mr. Schiffler? It's $1,000 per site for Whole Films to do?
His quote was for 2,000 for 2 sites. I don't know if doing one site, if it's because the cost might be similar to go out there once or twice.
Right.
So I might have to get another quote for like only doing one.
Can you, let's do that. Let's get a quote to do one site for now. And then we can get started on TAG to do a survey on the mill. So I guess we need a motion from the commission for that, if it's agreeable.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Giddings.
sorry, I'm not giving you the motion right now. I just had one more observation or one more question. If we are going to have the new films made, I guess I would propose that we wait until later in the spring when everything is green. All of the existing films, if you go out there and you visit that, all of the existing films were made during times when the trees were leafed out and when the grass was green and everything. And if we were to make the film now, then the one in North Meridian would be during the winter when the trees are bare and nothing is green. So I'm not against it. In fact, I'm for having the North Main Street portion done. But I would just suggest that we wait till June-ish, when everything's nice and green. And with that, I guess I will make a motion.
But yeah, okay, can we stipulate that to Brandon? They say, yeah, we will give you, we want you to do at least one more site at this time, but we would prefer you wait till spring when everything is in bloom.
Mr. Chair, yes.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
That does.
Okay.
In that case, I would move that we go ahead and get an estimate or get a quote from Byron Whole Films to do the North Main Street section of the virtual tour.
I second that.
So we want Whole Films to do just one site on North for now? Okay. And do we want to go ahead and have TAG get started on the preliminary survey
And that would be for the mill.
for the mill?
Then I would add to my motion that we have TAG begin the preliminary survey for the Zamzows Mill to be placed on the historic register.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Giddings, seconded by Commissioner Freeze to have TAG start the preliminary survey of the mill for an estimate of not to exceed $3,578, I think is what her quote was. And to have Whole Films proceed on the next north side on North Main. And I'm going to say for, until we get an actual price, not to exceed 15.
That would exceed our 4,500.
It'll be, yeah, it will, but we'll work that in.
Okay.
With that, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll see what happens with that one.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Neri.
Before TAG begins the work on the mill, do you and maybe Cassandra want to meet with the property owner to at least advise them what you're proposing? Sure we get contact information for you.
I know we've had some preliminary contact in the past, but yes, that's probably not a bad idea to reach out with them and tell them this is what we'd like to do.
Yeah, we can get that contact information, because I would think Cassandra might help explain kind of the consulting process, and you could explain the commission's view and what they're looking for.
Okay,
I'm sure they'd be supportive. I just thought we should probably do that.
okay. Let's do this. Let's revise that motion to just start with the Whole Films to begin with. And then we've got time for the survey. We can come back next month, maybe if Ms. Schiffler and I can meet with Zamzows and tell them what we're interested in doing with the nomination process, and then we can continue that portion of our consulting budget in February.
Agreed.
Agreed? Do we need to make a new motion for that? Okay. So we'll do that. So Ms. Schiffler, if you want to reach out to Zamzows, if we can set up a meeting over there, you, me, and them, to discuss what's going on, that will work.
We need to vote.
We already voted.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, with the other item that you discussed with the Eggers Farmstead and the $1,400 engineering, do you want to make them, and given the quick timeline that might happen, do you want to consider that one? And that one would be pending Parks Department and sort of working with the developer and what's feasible or not, but.
So can I put in my 2 cents worth?
Yes, you may.
I'm always putting in my 2 cents worth. If we do a survey like that, what will the outcome be? The outcome will be whether the structure is structurally sound
Yes,
or whether it is not structurally sound.
yes.
So what decisions will be made differently? If it's not structurally sound,
If it's not structurally sound, then it would take a lot more. I'm not gonna say it can't be rebuilt, but I think the effort and the cost to rebuild it is gonna be a lot more than what everybody realizes.
Mr.
And that's gonna be determine what's actually gonna happen to it in the future.
Right, well, I think there's going to be various degrees of deterioration. If, assuming there's deterioration, there can be massive deterioration, or there can just be a few boards that need replaced.
Agreed. Like I said, and I've looked at it a couple times.
It looks pretty sturdy.
It looks sturdy. I think there's some of the block and the silos that have deteriorated a little bit. So it may not be rebuilt to the exact height it is now if they can't reuse all the blocks. The timbers don't bother me because we can always replace those with newer ones. It's probably going to need a new roof of some kind, so the shingles aren't going to be able to be reused. They're going to have to be all stripped off anyway. And then it also depends ultimately on what the usage is as to what degree of rebuilding has to take place with it. And that's going to be determined by whoever rebuilds it. So,
So I guess that was kind of where I was going with this, is that maybe this kind of a evaluation needs to be done when its final use is determined.
well, they at least need to take a look at it while it's standing. Is it leaning, tilting, whatever? They have a pretty good idea, taking a look at it, say, yeah, it's sound. We don't see things structurally wrong with it. It can be rebuilt. And they're going to agree with me that, yeah, depending upon what the final usage is to what degree, they're going to have to do to make it, so people can go in if necessary or whatever.
I could see a lot of possibilities for it. I mean, it could be just a standalone. It's not structurally sound enough for people to go in. It could be used for park storage. They could perhaps even turn it into a concession stand. I mean, there's all sorts of options that that are possible depending on how good a structure it is right now and how much money somebody wants to put into it later on.
So if we do then proceed with the motion to spend some of our consulting money, then what are we not going to do that we just talked about?
Well, like I asked Mr. Neri, we have a line item for consultants. Well, we have a line item for training.
Right,
We may not spend all that training money this year, so we can use part of that money for our consulting budget.
okay,
So we've got the money in there. It may not come directly from this, so it's going to be some accounting on Ms. Schiffler's part to say, oh, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to do this. We want to do this.
okay,
So as long as we don't exceed our overall budget for the year, we're fine.
all right.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
Ms. Schiff.
In particular, I'm looking at the continuing education program, which is a $1,700 item. I don't know that the commission anticipates using that, so that would cover it.
Okay? Yep. Perfect. So let's add. Okay, we're going to redo this motion for our consulting budgets. We'll have TAG start the process for the mill at $3,500. We'll have Whole Films start the process for one site going north on Main Street for 15, let's say, and that'll be determined after Ms. Schiffler gets a quote from Brandon. Then we'll proceed with HJ Engineers, and that's who I know, and I don't know if the city has any contract with them, has done work with them in the past, or if we can just hire them since it's just $1,400, or what that process is. But I'm going to use that 14. I did email them again to get an updated price from them. And that's going to be sent to Ms. Schiffler. But I'm going to say the 1,400 right now to do that initial survey. So we're looking at 1424, $6,400. And if the Parks Department wants to go in halves on the survey, the structural engineering evaluation, that'll save us and them a little bit of money. So let's proceed at least by we have to take care of that for now. So with that, Mr. Neri, do we have to make a new motion? Or are we okay?
I think you're fine. I mean, I think really, I think it's pretty clear at least where the direction you're going to go and the amount you want to spend. So I think.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So with that, we will go on to other project updates and discussions. Item 5, Historic Preservation Plan. Ms. Schiffler, do you have an update on that for us, please?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, yes. So the the agreement with Sherry at JUB is approved. The purchase order and the budget amendment and all of the paperwork is in place. So we are officially a go. And I met with Sherry today, and we are planning to have the kickoff meeting at the next Historic Preservation Commission meeting. So in lieu of doing our meeting here with the dais, this will be, the next meeting will be an in-person only meeting in meeting rooms A and B over here. And it'll be, we can do HPC business for like the first 10, 15 minutes, anything that needs to happen. And then we'll just go into a kickoff meeting for the historic preservation plan. And before that meeting, you will all receive a SWOT analysis to fill out. And I think a draft survey. So I'll send those ahead of time so that you can be thinking, are there any other questions that should be part of the survey? Fill out the SWOT analysis, and also be thinking, is there anybody else that you would want to have at the kickoff meeting? If you have friends that are really interested in historic preservation. I'm planning on asking the owners of Meridian Cycles and Hidden Gem Events to come if they're interested, and MDC, and see if they have a representative from the Meridian Development Corporation. But if there are other people that you think should be at a kickoff meeting for the historic preservation plan, please invite them to the next
Okay.
HPC meeting.
Can we invite them, or does it need to come from you?
Nope, you can invite, I mean,
Okay.
it's an open meeting just like these are, so invite them.
Okay.
It's helpful if I have a heads up just to know how many people are there, but
Okay. I will invite Josh Everett from the Vault.
yes, please.
Okay. That will be at our normal time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Any more discussion on the preservation plan? Okay, Eggers Farmstead, we've talked over that a lot, so.
Last thing on
Yes.
that. When they do go to tear that down, I think it would be useful if we could actually have that documented photographically.
I agree with you. So yeah, we'll reach out, find out what the date is, when they want to disassemble, so that
And at least have some pictures.
at least a couple of us may be out there and take some photos of that for, so we know it'll help, whoever rebuilds it in the future for their documentation also. Okay.
Great.
Any other discussions on the Acres Farmstead? Next is our 2025 historic walking tour dates. Farmers Market will start in April and they will end August 31st. So I just kind of penciled in some dates before the meeting, looking at this. So we can get started in April if you want. May is Preservation Month, so we normally do something big during May for Preservation Month, so we can do a walking tour then. Then we have June, July, and August. We can do one. We can continue into September, even though the farmer's market's not here. So right now I said June 14th, July 19th, August 16th. And I had May 17th down, but those dates can change. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? And then probably while we're doing this and when we think about this, maybe for our February meeting is, do we want to do anything for Preservation Month other than just a walking tour? So the discussion is yours.
So you didn't have any dates on your preliminary in April?
I've got April 19.
Oh, April
If we
19.
want to do one in April, or do we want to just wait and kick off May when Preservation Month starts? And do May, June, July, August.
When was the May date?
I've got May 17th, but I don't know.
Are those all the third Saturday?
Yes. I was trying to make it easy. If we do just May to August, that gives us 4 dates. To do, like I said, we can start in April if the weather's nice, when farmers market kicks off.
That would be 5.
That'd be 5. And I think we did 4 last year. But we had
Mr.
good
Chair.
turnout all
For April, I talked to Sherry a little bit. Our first public engagement for the historic preservation plan will probably happen in April, and potentially might be nice to do a historic walking tour, like, and do the public engagement as part of it somehow. So
That would work. That would be good. And like I said, I don't know that we need to make a decision tonight on our walking tours. But we need at least to be thinking about it as what we want to do this year. Like I said, I think everyone I went to, we had good engagement. Everybody enjoyed the walks and the process. We had good comments from everybody. And the ones I was able to go to, we gave out the challenge coins. So we still have those available to give out on those tours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from a personal standpoint, I don't have any problem with any of those dates, other than the 17th of May. I've already got another commitment then.
Yeah.
I liked conducting the tours when possible.
Any other comments? Do we want to just proceed with these dates for now?
Let's go with these until we have a reason to change them.
Okay,
Let's go with this.
all right. Perfect. Well, with that, we'll proceed. Our next meeting will be February 27th, 4:30, meeting rooms A and B. As Ms. Schiffler stated, if you can think of anybody that want to come to the kickoff meeting for preservation plan, invite them. And then we'll see everybody on the 27th. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Giddings, seconded by Commissioner Freeze for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.